Hello and welcome back to part 3 of this tutorial series. My name's Mark and hopefully on this tutorial we're just going to add a script to our obstacle. The script controls an obstacle in the game. Where obstacles appear, it's going to spawn at a random size, move in a random direction with a random speed, so every obstacle feels different, which makes the game more fun and unpredictable. Now, I'm not a programmer, maybe you're not either. If you do need some help on coding, I would 100% advise that you go to Unity Play. And I think it's called Learning Pathway, and there's a junior programmers pathway on there. And I found it really good for myself, and it's helped me understand what a variable is, what a float is, what does public mean, etc, etc. Really helps me understand the code that I'm writing, and it's helped me to experiment and understand what I'm actually putting onto a piece of paper. Now, hopefully you've loaded up your game, or you're still in that game, and if you are, we're going to go straight to the project window, and we're going to right click our assets folder, and we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call this scripts. We're going to right click our script folder, click create and mono behavior script. We're going to give that a name of obstacle. Press and enter. We're going to select our obstacle prefab. And then what we want to do is we want to drag that script we just created into the inspector window of our obstacle prefab. Now, we've still got our prefab selected. Now you'll know if the script's joined because you'll see it will be added to the inspector window. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to double click our obstacle script. And this is going to open it up with Microsoft Visual Studio. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the full code in. So I'll move fast forward to that. And then as you're typing it, I am going to talk through it. What I will say is, press pause at this point if you want to move ahead later on. Type it in, but you need to make sure that it matches exactly to the letter. What I will do, if you look into the description, I will put the code in there for you to copy and paste if you are having any trouble with the coding. Okay, so we've only got a nice, simple, short and easy to understand script. I'm going to do my best to talk through it. Again, if you've got any comments or feedback, I'd love to hear it in the comment section down below, and I will get back to you with anything that you put. So for me to talk through this, at the very start, it's always going to have using Unity engine. Clearly that's saying that we're using the engine that's inbuilt within the Unity system. On line 3, public class obstacle mono behavior, that is referring to this script that we're using. So if we look at the first lines of code, which I'll highlight here. So here we're creating 4 numbers that we can change inside Unity. The min size and the max size tells the obstacle how small or big it's allowed to be. The min speed and max speed tell it how slow or fast it can move. Because these are public, they show up in Unity's inspector, so you can tweak them without going back to touching up the code. Line 10, rigid body 2D RB. This line just creates a variable to store the rigid body 2D. A rigid body 2D is what lets Unity apply physics, things like movement or force. Now let's move into the start method. This runs once, right when the obstacle appears in the scene. On lines 14 and 15, what we're doing here is choosing a random number between the minimum size and maximum size. Then we take that number and apply it to the obstacle scale, which controls how big it looks in the game. To keep the obstacle perfectly square, we use the same value for X and Y. For lines 17 and 18, for the movement, we pick a random speed, then we pick a random direction using random inside unit circle, which gives us a random point in a circle, basically a random direction on a 2D plane. This makes each obstacle shoot off in a different direction. Lines 20 and 21. Here we grab the rigid body 2D component attached to our obstacle, then we apply force to it using the random direction multiplied by the random speed. This is what actually makes the obstacle move. Unity's physics system takes over, pushes it. Now once you've written your code, make sure to click Save in the top, and that will appear in Unity. And that's it. With just a few lines of code, we've made an obstacle that will spawn in different sizes and shoot off in random directions every time. If this has helped you out, make sure you give the video a like and subscribe for more beginner-friendly Unity tutorials. Now let's see what that actually looks like in Unity. Now I'm going to click play and we'll see what that looks like. Great, that seems to be working. Now all we need to do is select the obstacle within the prefab. Now you notice that when we click play, it was doing what we've typed it to do, but we've still got gravity pulling it down. Now as this is going to be a space game, let's remove that gravity and it will move more like, you know, an obstacle within the space environment. So if we go to the rigid body 2D in the inspector, and remember where it says gravity scale, we're going to change that from a 1 to a 0. Press enter. Now if we click play, we'll see that environment look different. There you go. Now the obstacles are moving as if it were in space. Hopefully you've also noticed that they're different because it's a random size, different direction, different speed. So if you remember when we talked about the first few lines of code where we said public float, min size, and then we gave it a value. And I talked about that the reason that they're public is because then we can edit them within Unity rather than going back into the code. If you want to do that, just to experiment, if you go to the obstacle script and you open it up, you will see them variables here for you to edit and change. So you could say max size 10. Press play. Let's see if we get any really big obstacles. Yep. And they're absolutely a bit silly and a bit too big. So you can play around with that and find a setting that works best for you. So again, play around that, play around with the minimum speed and the maximum speed as well. Okay, once all this done, remember, as always, Control S or File Save. Okay, short tutorial. Hopefully you've understood a little bit of what I've said. Now in the next tutorial, you're going to create a controllable player ship that turns to face your cursor and moves in that direction when you click the left mouse button. Along the way, you'll learn how to detect import, convert mouse cursor position into world space, apply directional thrust, and respond to collisions. And we're going to do that using Unity's physics and input system. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.